It is the Lads Talking Footy podcast. Myself, Sam Whitaker, joined with Jordan Tanner, Simon Anderson.
Hello there.
I believe we're into number 23. This is, I think it is.
Damn.
So, yeah, ticking them
The
off as
Jordan
we
ep.
go. Yeah, there we go. Numbers. Okay. Into accountability. So, try scorer Smokies. Simon, you had Phoenix Crossland in at $5.
Wow.
Skeen, you had Kirk Caprell in at $3.50.
Yes, sir.
And I had Liam Martin, which ended up getting voided, so I'm going to leave the sound effects off for that one. Simon, Storm, head-to-head. These are the locks, $1.55. Skeen, you had Broncos, minus 7.5 at a respectable $1.91. And I had DWZ anytime into the Warriors, healthy, plus 17.5 at a W money. So we went a clean sweep on locks this week.
How about that?
As for the try scorer trifecta, Sivo, Taulangi, and Olam at 888. We can get over on that one. And tips for me this weekend, one wrong. That was the Titans into the best bets. Knights minus 12.5, Broncos minus 6.5, Cowboys minus 3.5, Warriors head to head over on the 44.5, and the Panthers versus the Dolphins. Unlucky they missed a whole heap of kicks on that one. And Titans on the plus 8.5. So we were bloody close to another clean sweep there.
Very respectable prop plays there from you, Sammy. I also got 7 out of 7 again. So I'm currently on a 12 from 12 streak at the moment.
That is
2 weeks in a row.
Yeah.
My props weren't quite as successful as that, but we still got 3 for you. Knights 13 plus, Broncos minus 7.5, and Cowboys minus 3.5. So some decent money to be made.
Nice, yeah. And gutted to miss last week's because I was 4 from 5, feeling really hot about it.
Okay.
And clean sweep 7 from 7 like you, Skeeno, this week. So, yeah, the boys are finding their nose.
Yeah, like any good race, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. And here we come.
Finishing strong.
Nice. As for the headlines, so 2 for you this week. It's been reported that Dane Laurie will join the Penrith Panthers next season on a 1-year deal. I actually don't mind this. We've got Crichton, who's obviously leaving. That centre position is going to be kind of interesting, and I feel like he's just going to be that bench player, maybe used a little bit better in rotation. So what do you guys think about that?
Yeah, 1-year deal. He's not a life changer for a team. He is a talented player. He's a serviceable player. I think he can, fit into the Panthers as a potential utility. They've got a lot of good players. Crichton coming out sort of makes there a window of opportunity for players like him. But yeah, it's a 1-year deal, so it's nothing too commitment based from the Panthers, and it's just a talented player that they can see if they have some potential there to use him.
Yep, I mean, 1-year deal leaves it to see if there's any youth coming through. Like we've talked about it before, Panthers that just have absolutely deadly youth program and bringing up players through their program. So maybe there's somebody there that they've got an eye on and they just want to have a bit of security before they blood them in full time. But
Yeah, for sure.
safe deal.
Now you'll love this one, Simon. So the Raiders are the only team inside the top 8, actually inside the top 4 at the moment, with a minus points differential. They currently have a minus 55, while the next team to finish, next team currently that has a minus points differential is Manly in 11th. So the last team to finish the season inside the top 4 with a minus points differential was the 2007 Cowboys. The Raiders currently sit 4th. They have the Warriors this weekend, Knights, Tigers, Storm, Bulldogs, Broncos, and the Sharks to go. Do we think that they might end up sitting within this top 4 with a minus points differential?
Well, the thing that's going against the Raiders is that they're completely allergic to winning 13 plus. They win 1 to 12 despite Simon, trying to put the curse on them and get them over the line for a 13 plus, in which we'll get to you in a second because you probably got some things to say about that. But yeah, man, I think the way that their team is sort of successful is based around their defense. They're a hard, gritty defensive team, and they've got just enough pieces on offense to, squeak out close wins. But when they do come against a foil, like some of these better top 4, top 8 teams, like the Warriors, for example. I remember the Warriors doing a number on them, 36-14, I believe, recently.
Yeah.
They just get the doors blown off them, and that's why we see such a negative points difference from them. If I'm looking at that schedule, I see Tigers, I see Bulldogs.
Even the Sharks, potentially. Knights, maybe
that's
as
a
well.
tough run home.
Yeah.
It's a tough run home. The thing that I would say that I see from that run home is that I don't think they'll finish in the top 4.
No.
I think they'll drop quite a few of those games and they'll fall out. And I see them still being negative by the season's end, but I don't think they'll be a top 4 negative team.
Yeah.
Can I speak now? I've
Yes.
been very quiet and
Yes.
patient. And the thing is I've been holding this in for a whole fucking week, bro, because unfortunately I wasn't here last week. And my key takeaway was to point out the fact
Got it.
that I'm looking at my notes from last week that they had no 13-plus victories at all with an 11-6 record. Last week,
Why
the
are you
team...
so heated on it though?
Because, okay, just like some people, we put money on things and they don't come through, and you just get attached to outcomes that should have happened.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
But should it have? Are you
were-
sure it wasn't a flawed betting opinion?
they were up massively. They had like at least a 3-try advantage, not this weekend just gone, but the one prior, and they blew it and they only just won. But before this last weekend, the team above them had plus 65, which was the Storm. So they had a margin between the next team above them by like over 130 something points differential. So it's a big margin to climb, and to be 60 plus points in the negative over how many games left in the season?
We're in round 21 now to 27, so that's six.
Six
So
more.
they need to win by at least 10 points, which isn't 13 plus.
Yeah.
Every game to climb out of that that points differential. But I mean,
It'll be interesting to see how they shape up. I just thought when I was looking through the table and seeing the big heavy minus and how high they're sitting, I was like, wow, I'll do a bit of research into this one. And interesting to see that it has actually been done before. As for my takeaway from the recent round, if you had listened to our show last week, you would have heard that there was a curse heading around and it was in Parramatta. Well, that curse no longer exists. Every team that had beaten the Eels since last year's grand final had lost the following week, and the gigantic surprise, Warriors managed to pit them.
Of course they did.
And not only did they do that, they won 44-12 against the Sharks, and then ended up beating. They defeated the Sharks 44-12, but they had beaten Parramatta Eels 46-10 the week beforehand. And what's wild about that is the Warriors have actually scored 40-plus points in 3 of the last 4 weeks as well. So like we just said in our best bets, it's not about how you start the race, it's how you finish. And the Warriors break the curse. What else can they break this season?
Oh, the Warriors, the great Oathbreakers, they did it. And, we've been saying this team's different, and they're different not only from the team last year, our team last year, but they're different from these other teams in the NRL. We are on an absolute roll right now, and we're playing some good, complete football with nice shape with the backs and a strong forward pack. We're literally a top 4 team if you were to grade them on performances and power rankings lately in the whole NRL. Long may it rain.
you know what the key difference is, and if you've been any sort of Warriors supporter for a while, it's one thing that has been lacking for so long, and that's maturity. Like there is a weird sort of, discipline and maturity about this Warriors team that can just do the work. Talking about it in our amongst our friends, and the fact that they can run a kick piece set where they just have 4 tackles going up the field, get to a decent kick, and they can do that over and over again to grind out a team, to build pressure, get a penalty, force an error, and then capitalize when they're in the right place on the field. So it's stuff that Warriors haven't done for generations.
Never go away from our game plan as well, even when we're down big. I know the last time we played the Sharkies, we were down big early. We just kept at it, kept knocking away at them, played our structure, and eventually worked our way back into the game and got the result. So,
And clearly learned our lessons from that one and applied them in this.
yeah. And instead of giving them a big lead, just put them away early. Mm-hmm. Bloody Wars, man. They're on their way.
Your takeaway?
Oh, feed me in. Don't just look at me. Far out.
Come on,
So-
take the hint, bro.
Storm are going a little bit under the radar. Unlike the Warriors, who are going over the radar and everyone's loving them, and mostly because all us Kiwis are bloody shining light on them. The Storm are kind of getting a little bit slept on here, and they beat the Roosters 30-16 in a game that could have easily been 30-4 if they didn't sort of, let their foot off the gas in the last 10 minutes. But they now sit third and are only 1 win behind the Panthers and the Broncos. And because of some questionable results this season, I feel like the mighty Storm, the Storm that are at the top of the world for so long in the NRL, are kind of going a little bit under the radar as a genuine contender. They're starting to get healthy, and at their best, the attack is still as dangerous as anyone's, with the best hooker and half combination in the NRL and Harry Grant and Cam Munster. And man, they just have a different ability to speed the ruck up, threaten around the ruck and keep defenses guessing. And then Munster brings that creativity that, most other halves aren't thinking about doing when he has the ball. He just offers a different threat to all of these guys. And in this game, they had 229 run meters and 3 try assists combined. And if you look at their team, they got weapons everywhere, man. They got tall aerial threat finishers with Coates and Warbrick. Coates with a hat trick in this game. You'll get to him a bit later, I think. Welsh is rediscovering his offload game. He had 5 in this one. And Big Nelson, it's not so much a revelation, but kind of is in a way, him on the edge. It's been super effective for him, and he's super dangerous out there. Big body that can get on, the shoulders of halves and the shoulders of smaller centers and create some damage. And what was really impressive about this game is that I know it's the Roosters, and they're known for having, some of the most abysmal attack in the NRL. But this is honestly, to me, the best the Roosters have looked in like months. And the defense of the Storm was really good and held them to just 4 points until the last 10 minutes. So if they can, maintain this level of defense, keep building this, attack that they always seem to have, Storm are going to be dangerous, man. I would hate to see them when it comes to playoff footy time.
Could they sneak in a minor premiership?
Honestly, they're 1 win behind. So yeah, I haven't checked their run home, but
injuries to the Broncos will be interesting. Obviously, Cleary's come back for the Panthers, and it is wild that you bring that up. I didn't even see that they were 1 win behind, because just off the top of the head, they've already had losses to the Bulldogs and the Titans this year. When you're dropping games like that and still got this consistent,
that's exactly what I mean, man. Everyone's sort of like, this ain't the Storm of old because of those losses, but nah, man, they're still right there.
And to your point on Big Nels, it's not, like you said, it's not a revelation. I'd classify it as like a refinement. He's nailed in what he does well, and they've said, this is what we need you to do. Don't do anything else. Run these lines, attack these edges, get to a one-man tackle, and get offloads or break the line. And he's doing it consistently. It's great to see. As a Kiwi boy, we want to see him succeed. So, yeah.
For sure. Simon, what was your takeaway?
Alrighty, so we're just talking about how fantastic the Warriors are. So let's fucking pile a bit of shit onto the team they face. So this team, they're called the Sharks, but we need to rename them to the Koi Fish, because these guys are some counterfeit, bottom feeder, sorry ass rugby league players. I mean, how can they only have 1 win against top 8 teams? Something you posted on social media, Sammy, to be in top 4 before the weekend, and only have 1 win against the top 8 teams, with a really competitive division, to only have 1 win against those teams and to still be in the top 4 just screams of bottom feeders.
What was that win? Do you remember?
I was looking before, man, but it slipped my mind.
I don't even remember them getting that win.
I know, but based on that evidence, their postseason run is probably going to be very short-lived, unless there is a quick turnaround in their form, because they do have the pieces to close games and win games. They've got deadly backline pieces. Their front row aren't losers. No. They have a decent team, but it's like they just lack the cohesion, the discipline, the maturity that teams like the Warriors are just demonstrating is required to play a whole season of good footy and then have a good postseason run. So I wouldn't really count them out immediately as a guarantee they're not going to make the top 8, but they're certainly not going to stay up in the top half of the top 8. And looking at their run home,
which is 4.
Yeah. So, yeah, thank you for the maths. But looking at their run home, and if you use the formula that they can't beat top 8 teams, that leaves them with the Eagles and the Titans as their only guaranteed wins on the way home. So that's 4 losses potentially. Maybe even the Eagles or the Titans could pip them based on it. So
that stat has been taken back to, they beat the Eels, I think it was in round 2 or round 3 at the start of the season, when the Eels actually weren't in the top 8, but they're obviously in the top 8 now.
So it's like a recounted top 8
So
win.
Potentially they haven't beaten anyone in the top 8.
Damn, that's crazy. And the Sharkies, I'm just cracking up because Based Simon is here, man, getting his inner Skip Bayless out. But the Sharkies, if you can't beat these top teams, you're not going to do well in this competition, because what happens when you get to playoff? You only face top teams, top 8 teams. And it actually goes down to their defense, because when they get to the strike zone and when they're playing free-flowing attacking footy, I would argue it's pretty to watch, and I'd argue it might be some of the best in the NRL. But when teams get rolling on them and start breaking them, it's usually around through the middle, and that's when they get sort of suffocated territory-wise, and you can't bloody score 100-meter tries every time. So, it's going to be tough when they converse teams like the Panthers, the Broncos, the Warriors that
Exactly.
can get rolls on and push you back into your own half, and you can't do that attacking footy. You're going to struggle in the top 8, man.
Well, they're at scrambling stations as we'll get into the preview with
Yeah.
the Sharkies, so it'll be interesting to see what they've decided to cook up there. As for the player that impressed me the most over the recent round, I'm going to Xavier Coates. He scored a hat-trick against the Chooks over the weekend and finished with 6 tackle breaks and 160 run meters, so not a hell of a lot of impressive stats to go with that, but 3 tries nonetheless. Now, he's scored back-to-back hat-tricks against the Roosters and has a total of 12 tries and 15 appearances this season, which I find pretty crazy. Now, they play the Knights this weekend. Coates scored a hat-trick the last time that they played them as well, so it'll be very interesting to see if he can go back-to-back hat-tricks and make a real run for this top try scorer at the end of the season.
Can I change my anytime try scorer multi? He's been impressive. He's kind of shown it in Origin as well. Like, he's just a little bit hungrier to do those exits, hit carries. He's finding his way to the try line again. He's getting his confidence back as a player, which, with a few injuries here and there and coming in and out of the lineup.
Not only that, but they've had Olam's been in and out this season with suspension and injury, and you've also had Munster in and out this season with injury as well in Origin. So, yeah, he's starting to find some consistency within the lineup, and it's showing a little bit.
Because as a young player for the Broncos, he was looked at as quite a prodigy and quite a prospect for the NRL, and then he went to the Storm, showed more glimpses of it, but he just got kind of forgotten about it in the shuffle of very talented wingers throughout the NRL. It's good to see him playing with this sort of confidence and reminding everyone who he can actually be.
Yeah, I mean, plus, well, compared to the Broncos team he was a part of, he was a bit more of a standout figure. But you put him in the Storm team he's playing for now, and there's a few extra players that can share the limelight a little bit. So, I mean,
He becomes a finisher as opposed to the whole sort of package.
And that's where he's at his best, man. Tall guy, catch big balls, pause, and quite fast as well. We saw that run away in the weekend where
right, the man's got toe.
the man's got toe, toes and balls. The player who impressed me was Isaac Tungo, and he's been playing really good in multiple games lately. And this was very impressive once again. They won 24-14 over the Dolphins, and the bro is still only 21 years old, which is crazy to me because he is a great athlete with a great combination of like strength, speed, and footwork. And no more evident was that than in his solo try against the Dolphins, where he skins to Whare and then running back in field, spins out of the Hammers tackle, and then O'Sullivan comes across with some of the weakest defensive effort of all time, but he fends him off twice and scores a great individual try in which he had 2 in that game, and he ended up with 97 fantasy points as well. 200 run meters, 2 line breaks, 2 line break assists, 2 try assists. Well, he did everything in 2s. 7 tackle breaks and 2 offloads. 2 more things. So, man, the guy has been super impressive. He was a little unlucky, according to some people, not to get that centre role for the New South Wales Blues. But 21 years old, man, that might even be younger than Bradman Best, right? How old is Bradman?
Yeah, I believe Tungo is younger.
Yeah, so there's definitely footy in this guy's future, and he's in a perfect place to get the best out of you as a talent in the Penrith Panthers. So
I'm glad that you bring that up because Stephen Crichton started off as a centre for the Penrith Panthers on that left
around
edge.
the same age too. Yeah.
Matt Burden on the left edge for he run Dally M Centre of the Year. And now we've got Tungo, who's actually really throwing his name in there for a potential Dally M Centre of the Year as
for
well.
sure.
So I'm loving what he's producing.
I was just going to say quickly, even that second try, which you didn't really cover, it showed some pretty awesome, just brute strength for a guy that isn't really renowned for busting tackles in the centre position, more of a elusive
He's
quickness.
got a good fend on him.
He was wrapped up completely and just kind of shrugged him off and just dove over the line. I can't remember who it was. Was it Hammer that we wrapped him up? I can't remember who it was in the Dolphins that had him, but somebody that just looked like he had him for all money, and he just kind of brute strength shrugged him off and over the try line. So he's got the complete package as a centre, someone who can kind of bust it up and not just run around people.
And Roy's been trying to tell me that Valence Safari runs a sub 1100 metre and he burnt him. I don't know how much truth there is to that, but that's what he's been telling me.
Alrighty. So my key person, back to the Mighty Wars, because why not, celebrate them after another fantastic win. This man
More WAS content.
this man put his hand up, I'd say, for top hooker contention amongst this really competitive NRL competition. This, his style, I think, complemented the Warriors' tough game plan perfectly this weekend. He was picking perfect moments to exploit lazy ruck runners and ruck defense, and without overplaying that role as a man who has to distribute the ball. So he picked perfect moments to exploit that lazy defense, like you were talking about, exploiting the middle of the Sharks. But also, had some really good moments where he was making the right passes, wasn't holding the ball too much, and set up some really great plays for the Warriors. So he's 4 runs, 60 meters, 1 line break, and 1 try assist. But also on the defensive end, 33 tackles made. So as a hooker, pretty decent numbers up there. Really complete performance from Wade Egan. And, he put his hand up for contention. I'm not going to go out there on a limb and say he's the best hooker in the league at the moment, but he's definitely put it. Yeah. Exactly. For a man who's had a lot of issues with injury, a lot of squad movements in the halves and in the hooker position with the Warriors kind of playing with combinations, it's good to see him kind of say, hey, look, at the end of the season, let me be the man.
Yeah, he's definitely in the upper echelon of hookers. There is obviously like skills that the top level hookers like your Harry Grant, your Reece Robsons, your Damien Cooks offer in terms of just athleticism and threat. Yeah. But in terms of like an NBA term, a role player, a role-playing hooker, he's right up there with anyone, man. He does his job perfectly well, and he gets this Warriors team going through the middle.
The Draymond Green of hookers.
Yeah.
You bring up Draymond Green, but his ball play's kind of slept on a little bit. He's real fucking snipey. Yeah, he's real snipey around that ruck, and I'm really glad that they persevered with him. We'll jump into the preview for the upcoming round. So to kick us off, we've got the Dragons taking on the Tigers at Wynn Stadium. Ben Hunt, Sloan, and Bird back for the Dragons. Nofaluma is back for the Tigers. So both teams have pretty good records here. Pretty much bag of results in terms of recent matchups, but the Tigers have won 2 of the last 3 here and Wynn Stadium, both against the Dragons. Dragons come into this 4 wins on the season. Tigers, 3 wins on the season. Both pretty much grounded at the bottom of the table, which means both teams will be wanting to get the win here to avoid this spoon.
Yep.
I really wanted to lean towards the Tigers in this one, but for me, seeing Sloan and Hunt back there, I think it just adds that little bit more flair and firepower in around the ruck. So I'm going to go with the Dragons here. I'm going to take them at a minus 3.5 at $1.91.
Yes, so Dragons $1.65 and Tigers $2.25 underdogs, with the line sitting at plus 3.5. I'm also going to ride with the Dragons here. I think they have shown a little bit more fight, that their season isn't completely done. I know the Tigers have been somewhat competitive, but they still end up getting blown out by 13 plus in a lot of these games. And with the halves being not very experienced, Lowry's on his way out and he's been named in half. They've got some good pieces back in the forward pack that makes them a little more competitive. Api Coruscant was pretty good in his return. Papali'i's been doing good things in the middle there, but the Dragons aren't that bad on paper, and especially at Wynn Stadium, they've actually got a decent sort of home ground. I'm not going to say advantage because they're way in the negatives in terms of win-losses, but they've got a good home ground record, kind of. So I'm going to lean...
How many caveats did you need to put
I don't know.
How many asterisks was that? 4 asterisks?
It's hard to put a positive spin on a team so bad, but I'm going to go Dragons. And believe it or not, I'm going 13 plus here at $3.25. Wow. I just think we're going to see a similar result where they've got a bit of revenge on their mind from the last game in Magic Round, and they're going to blow them out come towards the end of the game.
So I've got a different thought process to this. I think I'm going on form, and for me, it seems like the Tigers...
Both teams lose.
Yeah.
Somehow will draw.
Yeah. But I think the Tigers have the ability to... I mean, this is going to sound so cliche, but to play a better 80-minute game of rugby league. And I think I was going to take the Tigers at plus 3.5 just to give me a little bit of extra... security in it, but I'm just going to take them head to head. $2.18. It's good odds.
It's not a bad play.
This late in the season with really bottom teams, it's almost a bit of a pick 'em regardless, because these teams, you have no idea who's going to turn up. You have no idea who's got plans to go to Bali, or so you just it is tough to pick because they're not playing for anything besides not being last. So I'm going to pick the Tigers to get.
Which team wants to lose the least?
Yeah, exactly. It's a very different mentality.
Warriors take on the Raiders at Go Media Stadium. So Niokore back for the Warriors. Big Red and Papali'i returns for the Raiders. Now, the Raiders have a 33% win rate at Mount Smart, and the Warriors have won 2 of the last 3 games against them. But the last time that they played each other here in New Zealand, the Raiders actually won 46-12.
Damn.
Now, the Raiders
When
have
was
not
that?
beaten... I can't tell you,
Okay.
sorry.
A long time ago, hopefully.
I think it was. The thumb was hurting. I was struggling. Now, the Raiders have not beaten a team this season by double-digit figures, and right now it's going to take that to beat the Warriors. So the only thing that worries me is it's an 8 p.m. kickoff on a Friday, so it's cold, dark, and potentially wet. I don't know how the points are going to flow here, but I'm going to take the Warriors to win, and that's my best bet for this game, and at $1.45.
Yeah, Warriors, $1.45, like you said. Favorites, Raiders, $2.75 underdogs, with the line sitting at +6.5. Yeah, you got to pick the Warriors here. They've just been in sensational form, especially at home. What I will sort of credit to the Raiders is that they've got a pretty strong team named. This is as healthy as they really get, and they are quite strong defensively, especially with Big Red coming back. He's always up there with around 40 tackles a game. Papali'i will add some strength through the middle. So instead of getting a 2 ahead of myself and going 13 plus, I've actually just gone the Warriors money line at -6.5 at $1.91. Friday night, it also sort of puts a little bit of fear in me as well.
Raiders are used to this cold, sort of gloomy weather too,
Yeah.
so it's not like they're going to get a big shock.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm just going to stick with that money line just to be safe. And this is where my lock comes in. I'm also going the Warriors head-to-head at $1.45. Trust me, I wanted to pick the Panthers at $1.025, but I would have never heard the end of that. So we'll juice it up. Warriors, $1.45 head-to-head.
You did well last week.
Yeah.
I commend you.
I mean, so you're talking about the juice being added to the Raiders forward pack, but I don't think you can, disrespect the fact we've got Bunty and Niokora coming back in. So this is probably one of the better forward packs that we can put forward. So it's going to be a big upfront battle. Just doing some research into the weather forecast. It's looking like.
Keep talking.
Looking like it's going to be a wet Friday day. The whole day is going to be raining, so it's probably going to be a wet pitch. That could reduce the number of points, but hopefully we learned a lot of lessons from that Rabbitohs game, and we can put an effective wet weather game plan into play. This is where my lock of the week comes in. I'm backing Skeen with the head-to-head, $1.43 when I checked. But in terms of what I'm going to chuck into me weekly multi, I'm going to go Warriors 13 plus at $2.60.
It's going to be an interesting game. We spoiled the party on Crocus 300. Wonder what they're going to try and spoil here.
Very good point.
Before we move on, I've just realised my Smokey comes into effect here. You know I love a milestone game, and who's got his milestone coming up for the Warriors this week? Big old Jackson Ford. He's playing his 50th, so he is my Smokey try scorer for the week at $4.25.
And he loves crossing the line too.
Yeah.
Wet weather, up the guts. He loves a good line, so you never know.
Maybe after the game. It is Friday.
Yeah, it is Friday. Rabbitohs take on the Broncos at Sunshine Coast Stadium, so huge cavalry back for the Bunnies. Murray, Graham, Walker, Cook, Kolomatangi, Arrow, and Latrell are all back. Carrigan, Haas, and Walsh are back for the Broncos. Now, the Rabbitohs have a 4-for-4 win rate here, and this is actually the first time that the Broncos will be playing in the Sunshine Coast Stadium. So I'm going to be tipping the Bunnies. They won the most recent matchup against each other. I think although Walsh is back for the Broncos, which is going to be huge for them, the inclusion of him, obviously Haas and Carrigan, I just think having everyone back on deck for the Bunnies, they're just going to literally roll out the carpet and bring in a new 13. And I think they've been pretty shaky lately. We're starting to come up to the business end of the season. They're going to want to target this one. And we know how those boys play when it's a big game that needs to be targeted. And I think they're going to want to start putting together a bit before this finals run. So I'm taking the Bunnies. And my best bet for this game is actually, I'm going to be taking the spread, Rabbitohs -3.5 at $1.91.
Yeah, Rabbitohs, $1.65 favorites. Broncos, $2.25 underdogs, with the line sitting at +3.5, like you've taken there. And I fully agree. And everything that you said, I agree with as well. This is as strong as the Bunnies get, man. And we saw the last time it was full-strength Bunnies against the Broncos. It was pretty clean of a performance. I can't remember the score exactly, but I know it was over 13. So, yeah, man, especially at home, the Bunnies are tough to look away from here. I'm going the Rabbitohs -3.5 as well. We saw how good these guys' offense with their spine looks in Origin with Murray and Walker connecting. You get Latrell back as well. There's just everyone back on deck and looking for a finals push. So Rabbitohs, I'm going to take him.
Last result was 32-6, and that was played at Suncorp as well. Bunnies won.
Exactly.
Wow. See, I was looking at these odds prior to the team announcements, and that is some scary. It's like 7 starters back into the team. So,
Yeah.
and you know,
And not just starters, like
international,
all stars.
international or state of origin players that are back into the starting lineup. So that is a scary thought. I am still picking it's going to be close. I mean, you guys are going for the margin. I'm going to put
Only 3.
Yeah, exactly. That's why it's real close. But I'm going to back the Broncos to get this done. I think it's
Damn.
yeah. I think that I'm putting a lot of faith in the fact that once you make that many wholesale changes, it may take a while to adjust back into the way that team plays as a structure and those kind of matchups. I think a lot of those players in the backs might be trying to make their stamp and maybe step on a few people's toes. You know, Latrell's been out for a while. I think he's going to try and assert his stamp on the game. But the fact is, I think that they're going to have a while to readjust to with all those stars back in their lineup. So I'm going to get the Broncos with the team who's got the most consistency, the key people of like Haas and Carrigan and Walsh coming back into those positions just to give them a bit of juice. And just looking at the teams and the way they play the game, I have a lot more faith in the Broncos having a solid performance rather than the Rabbitohs.
Okay. This is game of the round for me.
Yeah,
for sure.
absolutely.
Absolute cracker.
Titans take on the Roosters at Seabus Super Stadium. Bremo back and Tino out. Tedesco is back for the Chooks as well. So Cook Chooks face off against the Titans. Now, they've won the last 9 games against the Titans in a row, and I actually believe it stops there. They actually have a good record at Seabus Stadium, but when they've won, it's been a close game. And for me, close enough isn't good enough for the Titans this season. It's a shame that Tino's out for them because I think I'd be a lot more confident in saying that had he been in here. But I'm going to be going Titans in this one. And my best bet for that is I'm going to be just taking them at a head-to-head at $2.20. And this is where my smoky comes in. So coming into this one, I had Tino. Tino scored trying back-to-back games against Roosters, and he's had 5, I think it was, this season. So for me, I had him written all over that one. But I'm going his left-hand man, David Fafita, and at $3.50. Scored a lot on that left edge. And
it's great value.
It is great value for him. So that's my smoky, David Fafita.
Great pick. And Roosters here are the favourites, believe it or not, $1.68, and the Titans $2.20 underdogs with the line sitting at plus 2.5. So very close odds. And this is going to sound really weird because they nearly lost 30-4 and then ended up being 30-16. But I was actually somewhat inspired from what I saw from the Roosters last week. It looked a little bit better. The finishing touches is still a miss. Like, that's why they only had 4 points so late into the game. They still weren't getting it done. But a lot of that has to be put on the Storm's defense. Titans, they didn't play all too good. They were up against 11 men for a long time. And I think they only got 1 try against the 11 men. So they really left that game on the table. The defense is still very suspicious to me. So I think if there is a team where the Roosters can kind of get their mojo back and score some points and maybe complete those finishing touches from the pressure they put on and get into the Titan strike zone, I think this is the game. Yeah. So I'm actually going to back the Roosters here. Minus 2.5, $1.91. I think Sawali showed that he has added a little bit of juice. Manu going back into center is going to be good for them. Tedesco coming back is good for them. And I've actually got my smoky in this game as well. Nat Butcher, $4.25. I could see him going over against, a little bit of dodgy defense in the Titans forward. So
I love it. He was going over a lot to start the season. He's gone quiet now, so hopefully he backs that up.
So his value got driven up, and I saw him and I was like, he hasn't really been scoring, but $4.25, I might have a go at it.
Yeah, I could compare him to someone like Ford or Barnett, that kind of range
line runner.
Yeah, absolutely. Just
goes for grubber kicks when they're short.
Yeah, exactly. So that is great value, driven up by a few scoreless weeks. This one I'm picking is going to be close. I don't have a lot of faith in either team winning, so I've gone for the plus margin here, and I'm going to back the Titans to at least lose by only a few points, which is plus 3.5 at $1.92. I mean, just talking about that Titans performance, I've never been so stressful watching the last game of a rugby league weekend, mainly because my multi folds well before it happens. But I had a 7-leg multi riding in just on the head-to-head finish, and the fact that they were down to 11 men, the Eels, and the Titans still couldn't pump them, man, I was thrilled. So I took home about $400, but I think a lot of people managed to clean up this last weekend with some of these results. But back to this week coming up, yeah, I think the Titans are probably going to get it done. The way I predict this game going is the Titans get out early. You know how they do. They play a really fantastic first 40, and then I see the Roosters kind of climbing back, getting into the mojo, and are making those finishes click and getting over the try line, and then potentially winning or losing closer.
Yeah, don't hate it. Knights take on the Storm at McDonald Jones. So Gagai back for the Knights, same 17 for the Storm. Now, the last two games between these two, the Storm have scored a total of 98 points and conceded a total of 6, which is pretty wild. They've won the last 13 games in a row against the Knights, and the more you look through the history, it just gets uglier and uglier for the Knights. Now, I know we've said it, the Knights are a good team at home this season, but I cannot turn a blind eye to history and stats. I'm going Storm. I'm taking the spread. That's my best bet for this one. Storm minus 8.5 at $1.91.
In Storm, $1.35 favourites. Knights, $3.25 underdogs. Line, as you said, sitting at plus 8.5. But as you also said, I'm taking the Storm. Minus 8.5 at $1.91. We've got a lot of similar picks this week, so hopefully we're still on the right track. I think we're picking quite similar in terms of results as well.
Yeah.
So it's a good thing. It's a good thing. Simon, you've done a few different ones. So
I'm trying to fade the
that's
bookies.
on you.
I'm fading the public this week.
But back to the Storm. Yeah, they looked really good last week. And like I said earlier in my breakdown, they're getting healthy again, which is a real big thing for them coming into the finals sort of home run. I thought maybe the Knights would have a chance based on the fact that they've been so good at McDonald Jones. But after you told me that stat about the points difference of their last two games, and I thought, fuck, if one of them was at McDonald's Jones, then I'm definitely fading the Knights here. It was, I believe, the second one where they won
48-2 or something.
That was at McDonald's Jones. So I got to stick with the Storm here, and I'll take them at the line.
Interesting. So, did you, when you said that you were considering the Storm as your lock at like $1.02, was that just a joke at the very start?
No, Panthers.
Oh, Panthers. Sorry.
Yeah,
okay.
Storm are $1.35.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah, because I was looking at the odds going, there must have been a bit of a shift, but never mind, getting the teams mixed up here. The fact that they've got 1 to 12 for the Storm at 288 and the Storm 13 plus at 225 means that they think it's going to be close to that. Well, obviously, they think it's close to the margin. That's where they put it there, but I think this is probably one of those ones where it's almost a lock. I mean, I'm not going to put that there because you know me and my locks, they aren't that that guaranteed.
Lockable.
But for this one, it feels like it's a bit criminal to have Melbourne Storm at $2.25. I think that's fantastic value. So that's where I'm going to put my money.
13 plus?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
No, I like it. Cowboys take on the Eels at Queensland Country Bank. Now, same 17 for the Cowboys. RCG is out for the Eels with suspension, and Sivo has actually been
Was that for
named.
the double knees?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, that was idiot.
Sivo finally got his sort of judiciary outing finally for some dangerous high contact. I'm not sure what the exact outcome was of it. This podcast is obviously filmed on a Tuesday, so he was live with the judiciary this afternoon. So he's actually been named. Whether he plays or not, we'll see.
Okay.
Now, this is going to be a great game for me, this one as well. Both teams come into this with 10 wins on the season. Good records for both teams here as well. Parramatta have won 4 of the last 5 games between the two of them, but I'm taking the Cowboys. I really think that they're just starting to sort of hit their groove, and I'm seeing exactly what I want to see from the Cowboys. And my best bet for this game is the Cowboys at a minus 7.5 at $1.91.
Yeah, Cowboys, $1.44, taking on the Eels, $2.80 underdogs, plus 7.5 line. And I agree, man. The Cowboys are rolling. They're one of the hottest teams in the NRL at the moment, along with the Wars. And they're just looking good on attack. Their defense is looking better, I will say. I'm still not fully convinced that it's like a lockdown defensive unit like the Panthers, but
the Eels don't have that lockdown attack either to complement it.
Exactly. It sort of comes and goes and it explodes one week and then it sort of dies off another week. I think at home, the Cowboys are tough to beat as well. Both teams have got, like you said, unpredictable and explosive firepower on attack. So I've kind of done a little bit of a combination with my prediction this week. I've gone Cowboys head-to-head paired with total points over 46.5 for $2.40. I think the Cowboys will get it done in a relatively high-scoring game where both teams score over 20. So
that's good value.
Yeah,
Nice.
That's where I'm running.
Yeah, I think the Cowboys are going to get it done. I think the Eels, after getting through the Titans only just, I think they're wanting to put a good performance together, but it's tough when you're playing a team like the Cowboys who are just so hot at the moment.
Yeah.
Really, complete as a 13-man side and great men on the bench. But I think this one's going to end up close. I think Cowboys are going to get it done, and there's great value in 1 to 12 at $3.
Yeah.
Nice.
Cowboys have drink water and the Eels don't. That's the difference.
Yes, it is. To drink, we drink. Panthers take on the Bulldogs at Bluebet Stadium. To'o, Yao, Martin, Cleary, and Crichton are back. Kikau and Adokar have been named as replacements in this one. Whether they play or not will be interesting, but Alamonte and Flanagan is back in for Sexton. So 38% win record for the Bulldogs, and I don't think they add to that, unfortunately. Nathan back, Panthers looking great. When he returned last year, it really only took half a game before they just broke into their absolute stride and just started cutting teams to bits. So Panthers have won 6 of the last 7 games against the Bulldogs, and I can just see them absolutely running through this one. My best bet for the game, I'm going points over at 46.5 at $1.91. I went on the points over for the Panthers last time. They weren't kicking my goals, but Nathan Cleary's back and he'll kick my goals for me. So points over in this.
And you've done well to get some value out of this game because I'm going to read these odds and I guarantee you, I'm not joking. Panthers favorites, $1.025. That's right, $1.025. And the Bulldogs
lock that in.
Yeah, it's one of my locks. It would have been my lock if you guys didn't give me shit about it. But the Bulldogs $13 underdog with the line sitting at plus 27.5. Crazy numbers coming out of this game. And honestly, the degenerate in me looked at that line and thought, fuck, that's almost takeable. It's almost takeable. But then I thought about the game, how it would play out, and there's no way the Panthers don't win this game, especially at home. So you just got to be appropriate and take the Panthers 13 plus, especially with Cleary back. They're going to look a lot better. It might be the finishing touch on an already rolling offense that just completely unlocks them and breaks them open. The Bulldogs, they were looking not too bad with Sexton, and him going out is another thing that points me towards the Panthers. So I've got to take them. And Dylan Edwards, I'm going to add him to our anytime try scorer multi.
When I've taking the points over here, I'd almost take that as the Panthers are going to get over it just on that alone. So if you want to just absolutely juice it up, go 51 plus.
Yeah, that's great value.
So when you're saying the degenerate in you was considering the line, which way? The minus or positive?
No, the plus 27.5 for the Bulldogs, because I just thought, you know what, maybe they take a while to click. They, a few tries don't go their way. Maybe there's a yellow card or something. Someone gets sent off. That's just such a big line that I had to think about it.
So what you're saying is I'm a degenerate because because I saw that line and I thought, that's so fucking disrespectful.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah. So I'm taking it. Doggies aren't going to get pumped by what is basically a 5-try margin.
Yeah.
So I'm going to take it. Plus 26.5 it was on the TAB at $1.90. I just think it's the reasonable option.
It is crazy.
Because 13 plus for the Storm is $1.17 on the TAB looking now. So
if the score were to be 40 points to 12, that still covers the line. Oh, okay. Well, yeah, you're a degenerate.
Sharks take on Manly at PointsBet Stadium. Now, Moylan has been dropped. Trindle comes in. Talakai has been moved to the reserves. And Matt Lodge makes his Sea Eagles debut. So both teams sit just shy of 60% win rates at PointsBet Stadium, but the Sharks have won 4 of the last 5. Coming into this, Manly sit just outside of the 8, which normally means the Sharks will win. So they need to find some sort of rhythm. It's interesting changes to make. The impact that Talakai is actually going to provide off the bench is... I'm wondering if they're going to sort of bring him into an edge role and sort of use him as just a wrecking cannonball and try and hope that maybe Con Tracy can sort of be that outside back that we need. But look, I'm going to take the Sharks head-to-head at $1.36 as my best bet for this one. And like I said, Connor Tracy in at that left centre role. He's got a great passing game. My lock of the week, Mulatalo, anytime try scorer into the Sharks head-to-head. I haven't got the odds on that one. We're still waiting for them to pop up. But Mulatalo at PointsBet Stadium is an absolute lock. 22 tries in 21 games, and I can't turn away from that one.
Yeah, Sharkies, $1.36. Seagulls, $3.20 underdogs with the line sitting at plus 8.5. You said it perfectly. Seagulls aren't top 8. Sharks should get it done. But very icky game. Very nasty game to finish your week on because of the changes that the Sharks have made. Connor Tracy is a very good player, so I'm not too concerned about that change. And Talakai is still, there on the bench to come on and provide an impact if needed. Well, not if needed. He'll definitely get some run. But I have to still stick with the Sharks here. The Seagulls can make it difficult. So I haven't known really where to go in terms of a margin. So I've actually gone and taken a stab at the Sharks 1 to 12 at $3.25. I think the Sharks can sort of score easy, but then the Seagulls, what they've shown in like recent weeks is that they can stay competitive in the second half and sort of grind teams down in that second half. I could see them clawing back to get within a 1 to 12 margin come the 80-minute whistle. So 1 to 12, that's where I'm headed.
These changes gives me the heebie-jeebies about it as well.
Some magic round shenanigans late in the season.
And is cash out an option for you if it's depending on this game?
Never pull out.
No, I was going to say, it's going to have to be like, what would it be like? Moylan comes out or something like that. Oh wait, no, he's already
Moylan's out,
no. Who's
Trindle's very good though.
Oh, it'd be Nico. Yeah, that's what I meant to say. If Nico was out, then I'd maybe be considering cashing out, but it would. Yeah, it has to be a lot before I decide to not run it. Unless like the cash out is basically the majority of the potential winnings.
Nah,
But
It's all good. You can say you've cashed before.
yeah.
I've never cashed.
That's all right. It's
hand
okay
on
to be-
heart, I have never.
You're a closet casher, aren't you?
I've never cashed out really. To my own detriment. But I'm going to be right next to you, JT. Sharks 1 to 12 is where I think I'll find the value. When I looked, it was $2.88. It's jumped up.
Cash out.
It's jumped up to $3.
Sharks cash out is real fun.
But yeah, I just think it's going to be a really icky, tough, close game. I wouldn't see either team winning by more than 13 points. So yeah.
Nice. Cash is king. My smoky for the week is David Fafita in at $3.50. Lock of the week, I've got Mulatalo into the Sharks head-to-head at $1.83.
Yeah, my smoky is Nat Butcher at $4.25, and the Warriors are my lock head-to-head at $1.45.
Yeah, I'm right in there with JT with my lock at $1.45 as well. Head-to-head, my smoky in the Warriors again. Jackson Ford, 50th milestone game, $4.25.
Beautiful. And as for the lads, try scorer trifecta, I've gone Brian To'o. Jordan, you've gone Dylan Edwards. Simon, you've gone Montoya, and that takes you to a nice $5.34. So slap the house on that one because I've actually got a good feeling on that. Into fact or fiction. So Epi Coruscant has played a total of 77 games for Manly. Fact or fiction?
Wow, a total. I do remember him having a stint there. I'm going to say fact. Weird number to make up, but
Yeah,
we've been doing this a few weeks now, so I wouldn't put it past you.
Part of me wants to fade JT and just say fiction, but it seems
I've got no idea on this one, so.
I know, yeah. Okay, just to get one up, and I just don't believe it. I'm going to say fiction.
It's a fact.
Yeah.
Epi Coruscant played a total of 77 games for Manly from 2016 to 2019. He actually scored a total of 11 tries throughout that as well.
Oh, you see me manipulate you? I knew that.
That's why you went first. Payne Haas leads the NRL currently in post-contact meters. Fact or fiction?
I'm going to go fiction because I think I know who it is, and it's a back, I believe.
Do you want to put a name to it?
I can't. I think I've seen this, though. I could be wrong. I'm
gonna
not
say-
trying to manipulate you.
I'm going to say fact.
Okay, it's fiction.
Ah.
It's actually Adam Fanua-Blake. So Payne Haas has a total of 1,070 post-contact meters, while Adam Fanua-Blake has a total of 1,118. So
close.
that's absolutely
Prop of the year.
tremendous.
Dally M.
Clint Gutherson sits in the top 3 of the NRL for tries scored this season. Fact or fiction?
Fiction.
I'm going to say fact, but he's tied with heaps of people on like 15 or 16.
It's a fact. He is tied. He's tied for third place, but he's scored a total of 16 tries in 17 games, which means he actually leads in that sort of tied bracket because he's played the less games and had more.
Bit of
Damn,
strike rate.
I went 3 from 3. What'd you get?
I went.
Guther's actually also sitting on a four-game try scoring sort of run at the moment. So last 4 games he's scored a try. Gutho has got some value in him. Now you love that. All Blacks, they had the 35-20 win against the Springboks, and they take on the Wallabies this weekend, who are coming in off back-to-back losses against the Boks and Argentina over the weekend, where they went down
34-31.
Yeah, 31. I've had a 2-1 there.
Yeah.
So,
Could have been that, but, they stayed alive.
yeah, they did. So super impressive from the All Blacks.
Yeah, Fuck yeah.
I was really, really worried about this game coming into it. I had a funny feeling about it all. But
Just on the low, I picked against them.
yeah,
I picked the South Africa line +6.
I took the spread as well. I thought +6 is bloody tidy. I didn't pick them to win. I just thought they'd keep it tight.
I mean, I pretty much am picking them to win.
Don't call us a phony. You were saying, I had the same feeling.
Nah, he actually has good faith in terms of his picks, so I will give you that. I'm a unloyal bastard of a man. I'll pick against hometown all the time.
I had a same game multi, and I think I had the margin. I mean, the try scores didn't come through, but the margin I had was like -7.5. So
Yeah, no, I saw that. I see your faith. I see it.
Super impressive performance from the All Blacks. I thought they really just absolutely hit the ground running in this one. Super physical. The ruck, which I was, for one, really worried about. They executed everything perfectly there. Kicking game, well executed, very well thought through. They targeted the wingers with a lot of height. Will Jordan, absolutely exceptional.
Beautiful game planning.
yeah,
And the big man, Frizzell. What an impressive. Just that first half alone was just incredible.
As that middle pod runner, he had them scared from his first carry. Not scared, but they were hesitant.
Yeah.
Because he obviously has a little bit of ball playing skills. He can hit that other man on either side. But his ball carrying when he went into contact was strong, man.
So physical.
And we saw it from like the first line break he made, and I think the first 5 minutes. And after that, they were like, damn, we got to actually like direct our attention on this guy. And bro, it just kept coming, bro. What an impressive performance. Definitely matched the physicality that we were worried South Africa were going to bring to this game.
Absolutely. And it brings me with a lot of confidence leading into this World Cup in terms of questions that I sort of was needed answering a little bit, just in terms of our physicality and where teams actually target us and where the Springboks have targeted us in the past as well. So they really did their homework, and they just sort of gave us some reassurance. It was great.
It was a perfect game, and our set piece was even really good. Our scrum was going well. Our line out was safe as. But the thing is, South Africa did themselves no favors in that first 25, 30 minutes. And the possession after 25 minutes was actually 90%. And a lot of that was because the South Africans were doing some of the shittest, like not international rugby level errors.
Yeah.
And it got us out to a hot start. I really want to see how that game would have looked if South Africa played the way they did from that like 30 to 60 minute mark for the whole game. Because that's really what we need when it comes to World Cup footy and getting ourselves fully prepared for that tournament. Because they kind of gave it to us early and we got confidence and we got a roll on and everything was clicking. But there's still questions in my mind, personally.
Yeah. I mean, my recollection of the game is a little bit hazy, tinted by a few wet ones at the game and before and after. But the main takeaway for me is like, not just from an entertainment point of view, but also an effective game plan was the pace of play. Like, it was fantastic to see us just like whip the ball out from the ruck, like the great direct lines, and using like the just numbers and the draw and pass to, expose the holes out wide. But they also interspersed it with really good attacking around like the ruck, just like the inside ball or just taking it right around the corner from the ruck. They had to keep the South Africans honest, and it meant that when we went wide, as cliche as it is, you go up the guts and then you spread it wide and then you make your meters. So it was a fantastic game plan that nullified the way the Springboks were expecting us to play, I think. But I mean, just to take it a bit further, it'd be interesting to see how that style of game plan fares or evolves against the European teams that we're going to have to play, because they've adopted a very similar style and will know how to defend it. So we'll see if we kind of play a bit more conservative or just stick to that really fast ruck play game that we just managed to pull out of somewhere.
And speaking of dangerous, man, another guy that was super dangerous all night was Willie Jordan.
Yeah.
He was amazing, and he was the main target for us when we were doing those weaponized, sweeper sort of high kicks. And man, he was contesting every one of them effectively. And then when he got the chance in broken play, he was electric, bro. And he set up that first try. He's kind of had a hand to play in that second try as well with Frizzell down the sideline. And he was just dangerous all night. 1 try, 7 defenders beaten, 12 carries for 74 meters. Man, we had some questions on like where he fits into this All Blacks team. I like him as a winger.
Yeah. I mean, especially coming from the end of the Super Rugby where he was, only just recently put back into the Crusaders team. But yeah, like you said, jumping in the air, some would call him Free Willy.
Wow.
Free the Willy.
Wow.
22 tries and 22 tests for him. So at this rate, he's actually going to finish the year at somewhere close between 30 tries. Now, he's signed with NZ Rugby until the end of 2027. So it's fair to say that Howlett's all-time AB's record of a total of 49 tries and 62 tests is actually going to potentially be under threat.
That's
Wow.
crazy.
He needs to get a high score before Shawnee starts playing All Blacks games because he's coming for that try scorer record.
Which actually leads me into our next discussion.
Yeah,
so
please.
We take on Simon's barred up. There's no more hammer. It's just Sean.
I'm in there for the shooter.
So we obviously take on the Wallabies this weekend.
Yeah, I've been trying to look up odds for that. I can't.
There won't be anything
Oh,
yet.
okay.
Now, two names that come to mind that I really want to see thrown into this one is Cam Roygaard, Sean Stevenson. I'd like to see Damien McKenzie moved into 15. I want to see, depending on how Moanga's eye is and how that goes, sort of that rotation in there. And I want to see Shawnee get a shot on the wing, whether it's starting on the wing or potentially coming in offering his impact. But I want to see Sean in, Roygaard in, and I want to see a 51-plus win to the All Blacks.
Yeah, I don't think they'll make too many wholesale changes from what they did in the weekend because first and foremost, we got to lock that Bledisloe Cup up. So whether we see a Roygaard or a Stevenson, I'm not too sure. But damn, just as a pure fan's perspective, I want to see as much new blood get an opportunity before we get to the World Cup so we fully know what we got going into that tournament.
The only thing for me is Braden Edwards had 2 shots off the bench.
Yeah.
And he hasn't provided that spark that I've really wanted to see. Now
I thought he defended very well.
He defended really
The
well.
backs didn't really get much of anything from the Springboks, and I thought the drift defense of the All Blacks with Braden Enor coming in was really good.
Without a doubt. But and then obviously we've seen Geordie and Rico play full 80 in the first 2 tests, so it's going to be interesting where that sort of break comes, whether he even starts in this one. But I agree, the changes won't be plentiful, but I do want to see that young blood actually get a shot.
Yeah, for sure.
I think I'd like to see Christie get the start and have Roygaard off the bench, maybe, just because, I mean, I'll touch on it a bit later, but I didn't really seem too impressed by Christie's performance when he came off the bench. So it'd be interesting to see whether he can start a game. And depending on how you want to run your halfback rotation into a World Cup, you're going to have usually the same halfback for every game, even when you're playing the shitter teams. It's just a position that you kind of need to always have that consistent start, and you're not going to have too much risk by having a starter play every game. So it'll be interesting, and I think it'd be nice to see Christie start and see Roygaard come off the bench, because then you can compare Christie and Roygaard off the bench to see who deserves to support Aaron Smith.
One thing I will say is that Damien McKenzie has to be somewhere in this 23.
Yeah.
That's I want to see him. I want to see how they can use him with Moanga, or maybe Barrett gets the rest this week. I just want to see McKenzie's potential combination with Moanga.
That's what I think. I think it's going to lean on what happened with Richie's eye. He's going to get potentially a full shot at 10, and where that rotation might come from. D-Mac might start at 15, move into 10, and Shawnee might go to 15, or even with Will Jordan or something. It's going to be interesting, the balance from it. But yeah, for me, D-Mac, he screams Bowden Barrett impact off the bench like that Rugby World Cup at home. So yeah, it's going to be...
worked so well.
Yeah. Do you guys have just a brief score prediction? I don't know what this is going to be, but I'm saying it's going to be an absolute run up by the All Blacks.
It's hard to... Where is it?
It's over in Australia. I think
Australia?
it's in Perth, it might be.
Yeah, I'm thinking the All Blacks will win this, and will win this comfortably. There might be some... I don't expect us to get off to the hot start that we might have been getting off to lately. Oh, I don't know. Our pace of play was fucking tremendous. I'll say it's 35-17 to the All Blacks.
I'm thinking similar. I'm thinking it's just going to be first 30-minute blitz, a little bit of a
I've still got the All Blacks start slow mentality in my head, but we fucking haven't been.
No, I think it's going to be a blitz. I think it's going to be a shell-shocked Aussie team, and I think it's going to be a limp wrist 10 minutes-ish before the first half ends, where they get a try, maybe 10 points. Then another 5 minutes at the start of the second half where they look threatening, get a penalty. So I'm thinking a final score of 13 for the Aussies, and we run it up to like 48-50. So there we go. Yeah, 48-50 to 13-ish.
Okay.
Nice. UFC, take us away.
Yeah, so there wasn't much in terms of what happened this weekend. There was the weekend before. Did you have anything you wanted to talk about from the weekend before with like the Vault card? Because you were away, I bet
yeah.
you've been chomping at the bit at home just to say something.
It was just so fantastic. I guess the whole card was an amazing watch. Volkanovski's performance was just, what you'd expect from a man who's solidifying himself as not just the greatest featherweight, but the greatest MMA fighter and UFC fighter of all time.
Yep.
He's
on his way.
Yeah, he's regained pound for pound, so obviously everybody respects him as the deadly man right now. Who else is on there? I mean, Drickus, the fact that he got the KO over Rob, which is, it's sad as a Rob Whittaker fan, but in terms of a UFC fan, it's great for the development of the middleweight division. Adesanya's moment in the cage afterwards was just bizarre.
Can you repeat what he said?
Yeah, he said, "This is my African brother," and then he said a whole bunch of stuff I didn't really pick up. But that was an interesting event. I think we've talked about it like offline, but it's hard to decide whether it's all legitimate or a lot of it is just playing up for the pay per view.
I think it is. I think it's a lot of that.
Yeah, but
he's a smart guy, Adesanya, and
yeah,
I know he saw the opportunity to latch onto something and make it bigger than what it was with this whole true African champion thing, and he knew he could add racial implication into it. I don't think he's genuinely offended by what Drickus has said. I think he's just trying to play into something to, sell a fight, and it's working because everyone's really interested in seeing this now.
Yeah, because just talking about it now makes me think back to prior to all of this like racial conversation, and who did he beat? Like, what's his name? Corey? No.
Who?
Drickus. Who was it? Was it?
So he's beaten Whittaker. Before that was Brunson. Before that was Till.
Yeah. So it was like around the Till victory and Brunson, and people saying, fresh blood. Let's see if this guy. But it was before he had the nose surgery. He was just so sluggish, real wild striking, and people were saying, this guy can't get a title shot. He just doesn't look at the same caliber. So people are kind of forgetting that, based on his performance against Whittaker and all of this hoo-ha outside of the actual ring performances to build this fight. So, it is working to a T. People are really interested. And even if it's just to watch a guy get a beating, they're not too concerned about having a really lopsided title match.
No.
They just want to see Adesanya go out there and dish it out for 5 rounds.
Yeah, Drickus has done his part. He's got his wins. He's got wins over crucial people like Robert Whittaker, and he's legitimately earned himself a title opportunity. So now it is a huge fight.
Yeah, go.
I was
just going to say, just to kind of wrap up, because you guys have already reviewed it, obviously Hooker is the baddest man on the planet. The fact that he got head kicked and just ate it like a zombie and broke his face. He fought through a broken...
that's probably what broke his face.
Yeah, no, he said, I've watched a few, because there's like this Mad Mac or something.
It's crazy.
There's like an Irish like UFC journalist, and he's got a good relationship with him, and there's a few interviews, and he's like, that's what broke my face, because he rewatched the fight.
Damn. And, this last weekend, it was a pretty dusty card, but there was a prospect that we've had high raps on for a while who fought.
He should have been on the card previously.
Yeah, exactly, but his fight pulled out, and then Basil Hafez stepped up on short notice to take on our guy, Jack Della Maddalena, and which it ended up being a split decision. And it was a lot closer than a lot of people had thought. I thought clearly that Jack Della Maddalena did win the second and third rounds, but there's a lot of controversy, especially the way the commentators were framing it, that has come out of this, and people think he may not have actually won it. Where do you stand on the fight, and where is your hype in general on this guy after that performance?
Yeah, I think a lot of the fact that he had to do 2 weight cuts back to back in a week significantly impacted his ability to perform at the level that we're known for. And plus, we don't really know, because all of his fights finished in the first round up until this point, basically. So this is the first time he had been tested and at a pretty diminished cardio capability, because if you are a bit of a UFC casual, a weight cut is a really grueling thing to put through your body, and to do it 7 days later is pretty taxing. Yeah. So that's, I think, a thing to not just ignore. But the controversy and, some of his training partners, because I think it was it American Top Team he trained with, like Gaethje and stuff like that.
Who, Basil?
Yeah. So a lot of those people were tweeting saying that they thought he should have won, and that the judges got it wrong. But there's this...
No, they're at Team Elevation.
Elevation, sorry. Yeah.
Because Kamara was vocal as well.
Yeah. Sorry. But there's this weird assumption, and it's these fighters that love to wrestle, that ground control, whether it's effective and damaging or not, is just as valuable as straight damage output and effective significant strikes on the feet. And it doesn't make sense. The way that the judges are told to score is that damage is the number one priority.
Scoring.
Yeah, exactly. So if you have a man in a compromised position on the ground, but you're not threatening a submission and you're not throwing strikes that are damaging his body or his head, you're not winning a round when somebody has spent the first half of it punching you in the face and almost taking you out of there.
Yeah.
Like, there was a few chances in the second and in the third where he was significantly rocked, panic shot a takedown, and then held him there for the last couple minutes. Like, how can you score that as a win for Hafiz when he wouldn't have shot in the first place if he wasn't getting punched in the face?
A lot of his, especially in that second and third round, a lot of his takedown attempts were out of desperation because he was getting pieced up and he was so tired. And, you know, that's what led him to get it. Well, actually, he'd do a takedown and then Della Maddalena would try a DAS or try like
guillotine,
a guillotine.
bro.
And he made some low IQ mistakes, and it could be because he was doo-doo headed from 2 weight cuts in the last 10 days. But Basil Hafez was a lot better than I think people gave him credit for. I mean, to have that much like ability to keep pushing through when you're completely tired, still shoot all those takedowns, still wing dangerous hooks with like seemingly unlimited power. Like, he was still carrying power like deep into the fight.
Seems a little bit fishy, right?
It is very suspicious, and I will go out on my shield saying that Basil Hafez went into that fight roided up.
Yeah.
But still a great performance from him.
Yeah.
He stepped up on debut, and for me, the hype doesn't die on Della Maddalena because he showed dog. He showed the ability to, you know, push through adversity and still eke out a win. I will say eke it out.
Yep.
But hey, you sometimes get into these dog fights. It's never a clean run to the top. Israel Adesanya came up against Vitorian, I think, his second fight, and it was a split decision. So it's never...
That was a weird fight, though. The amount of damage from both fighters was very minimal.
Yeah, okay. Well, my point is that it's never a clean run of just knockout all the way to the top. You do come across some tough competition, and Della Maddalena just came up against a tough guy who might be ranked in the future. We never know. This could just be a guy who took his opportunity and thought, right, now I'm in the UFC, and now I'm going to start beating these other contenders.
Yeah, exactly. Dana always rewards these people who show up last minute with a bit of a confidence builder the next time. So we'll see him on a fight night or maybe on an early prelims for another card later in the year or early next year. And I think we'll see him destroy somebody.
Yeah, for sure. And a lot of people are saying they should rebook that Sean Brady fight because now it's a little more interesting.
Yeah.
Given that Della Maddalena showed vulnerability, you could say, in terms of ground game.
Yeah.
But hey, I'm still high on the guy. I hope he goes well. But this weekend, we're going back to London. Good London card. The main event is probably the only fight worth covering, but it is a pretty deep card. There is a lot of exciting fights on the card. It's quite early on a Sunday morning, so if you've had a bit to drink, you might be struggling to get up to watch it. I believe it's at 5 a.m., the prelims, 7 a.m. main card. So if you're dusty, it's a hard ask. But
I see more asterisks coming from skiing.
yeah. Well, we do play rugby again this weekend, so big asterisks. But no, I probably will still get up and watch it because main event is pretty good. It's got one of the heavyweight prospects, Tom Aspinall, returning to take on Marcin Tybura, who is on a 2 or 3 fight win streak, I believe. Tom Aspinall was a massive prodigy for coming out of England before he tore his ACL, and we all know about that injury on this table. But, I mean, the guy was touted to be the next heavyweight champion, perhaps. He's got lightning quick hands. He's got an unbelievable grappling game. His base is jiu-jitsu, so he's got an amazing grappling game for the heavyweights. Marcin Tybura is more of like a sluggish, grind it out, try to survive the early rounds, and then we'll just put the pressure on you and grapple you and beat you up from a top position sort of fighter. He's more of a... It's funny to call him a sluggish guy because it's heavyweight, but that's kind of how he fights. He's got a bit of a belly and he tries to grind people out like that. This is a showcase fight to me because Tom Aspinall is coming back and they want to get him a win.
Yeah.
So that's why they've made this matchup. It is all pointing towards Tom Aspinall. The odds have Tom Aspinall as the $1.22 favorite and Tybura as the $4.50 underdog. Simon, do you agree with those odds? Is that where you're going as well? Tommy Aspinall to get the showcase victory?
Yeah. Short answer, yes. But what Tom said in his interview is that, in the heavyweight fighting, he says heavyweight fighting is a different type of fighting because anybody can just hit you once and it could spark you out. So to have him such a strong favorite, it does kind of disrespect the fact that, not that he could get lucky, but he could get a few good shots on Tom and finish this, but I don't see that as a likely outcome. The way I see this working is that Tom will be a much faster fighter. He's going to pick him away at him from the outside. He's going to land some great shots. He's going to get him onto the ground. He's going to start with the ground and pound, and then he's going to flip him over. He's going to fall on his stomach, and he's going to get a sub. So I'm going to I'm picking ground and pound into a sub.
Okay, yeah, and I've got to pick Aspinall here as well. The only thing that does worry me is, can I ask you a question? Do you move the same after your ACL injury?
Yes.
Do you move the same after your ACL injury?
No, and I didn't after the second, and I still don't.
Well, I mean, he doesn't have that much on the clock, but still one's bad enough. And I can speak from experience that I don't quite move the same as well after my ACL surgery. So
But are we UFC fighters though?
exactly. And I got a little bit dodgy on the old rehabilitation. I think I stopped after like 3 months. I was like, it's fine. I can walk again.
Yeah, exactly.
If I'm coming into this, I'm just peppering it with a kick straight to the knee.
Yeah, but the thing with Marcin Tybura is I don't think he has the skills to, take advantage of stuff like that, like leg kicks and the boxing skills required to beat a much faster Aspinall. I've got Aspinall here in the first round as well. I'm going to say, first round TKO. I think he's going to get him with a hook, maybe a 1-2 down the pipe. It's going to hurt Tybura, and I don't see Tybura, fighting too hard to get out of the ground and pound that Aspinall's going to offer, and I think it's going to be a first round TKO. So that's where I'm riding.
Nice.
Yeah, and that's all for the UFC this weekend. Looking forward to it.
Nice. Into Jersday, so head around the room, shine some light, past, present, future. I guess you could call future player that we want to rep their hypothetical jersey. So I'll go first. This week, I'm going to be repping a basketball jersey. That basketball jersey is Team Canada. So for the upcoming FIBA World Cup, I've seen the likes of these players commit. Kelly Olynyk, Lou Dort, Nikhil Alexander-Walker, Corey Joseph, Dylan Brooks, Dwight Powell, RJ Barrett, Jamal Murray, and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
Damn.
I see one player that doesn't belong.
Yeah, I see that.
He's going to ruin the team chemistry.
You don't like the little TikTok dance?
No.
He's going to bring that to the team. It's going to be good team chemistry.
No. They're gonna do all the initiation, all the team dinners, and Brooksy's just gonna be at the hotel by himself.
That's sick.
Anyway, it's a good team.
It is a great team, despite the absolute glaring odd one out.
Simon's now taken my jersey and he's ripped it up.
Yeah, he's like, Dylan Brooks, fuck that jersey.
I'm super excited for this. I mean, RJ Barrett played for them the last time around as well. He's true and true Canadian, and it's good to see that these sort of star caliber players commit to them as well. That backcourt for them is fucking dangerous.
nasty.
When you've got SGA, Jamal Murray, and Barrett out on a wing. Absolutely crazy.
Even the role players, like Lou Dort is a tough defender. Dwight Powell is a good pick and roll guy.
Kelly Olynyk in there.
Good pick and pop guy.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm super excited for Canada and seeing how they go because they've obviously sort of loaded in on this one and they want to make a run for it.
Yeah, and I saw a documentary not too long ago. It was like the Vince Carter documentary and the effect that the Toronto Raptors have had on Canadian basketball. And how old are a lot of those guys? They're around 25-ish, right? Yeah. And that's when the Toronto Raptors franchise came to be around, I don't know the year exactly, but it's around the same time that these guys grew up. So it's good to see that the Toronto Raptors have had a positive effect on Canadian basketball and is creating such a talented team.
Yep.
They're going to be a problem. They could, I'm thinking like quarters, maybe pushing semis.
I think they're going to push semis. Yeah.
Could they beat a team like Australia?
Yeah.
They honestly could, but Australia's also really good. There's also teams like Serbia.
That's the other one I was going to put forward.
Argentina's always there. France.
Spain's always there. France is really good.
Yeah, one of bananas.
It's going to be, it's a tough ask, but they could definitely get in the semis.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. So anything else to add for that? Or
No.
I can go next.
Yeah, go for it.
Carlos Alcaraz won the Wimbledon Championship at just 20 years of age, defeating, we know how good this guy is, Novak Djokovic, to win his second Grand Slam. And I just want to break down some of the greats right now. Federer was 21 when he won his first Grand Slam. Djokovic was 20 when he won his first Grand Slam, but didn't win another one until like 3 years later. And Nadal was also 20 when he won his second Grand Slam. So This guy, Carlos Alcaraz, is on schedule for greatness as he's only 20 as well. 2 Grand Slams. And he's the current number 1 and the first teenager. He got ranked number 1 last year after he won the US Open. And he's the first teenager to be ranked as high at just 19 years old. So, man, this guy is young and a beast and is on a crazy trajectory to be one of the great tennis players of all time. Draws a lot of comparisons to fellow Spanish great Rafael Nadal because of his elite athleticism and his ability to cover the court. But now I'm not saying he's better than a prime Nadal, or I'm saying, he will achieve Nadal's legacy in terms of greatness. But for me, he hits the ball slightly harder. He's got a slight power advantage over Nadal. He moves just as well, and he's got a little bit of extra juice on his shot. So
Extra juice?
wow, potentially. I mean, 20 years old. He's hitting it a little too hard for a 20-year-old. But I'm telling you right now, this guy is a special talent, and this is not the last 2 Grand Slams we're going to see from him. We're going to see a lot of this guy's name at the top, holding a trophy, because he is a special talent in tennis. Carlos Alcaraz.
Yeah, shout out to Ilya Tapuria putting his whole fight of the night purse down on him to win.
Yeah.
Oh,
50
yeah, 50K,
Gs.
yeah.
That's crazy. And just while you're talking that, I was like, that we would have known if he was the youngest Wimbledon winner. Tokito Oda from Japan beat Leighton Hewitt 6-4, 6-2.
He's not I didn't say he was the youngest.
No, I know,
one.
but yeah. So he is the youngest.
Who, Taquito?
Yeah, well, yeah. Yeah, he's the youngest man to win Wimbledon at 17 years old.
Oh, okay. Is that open era?
I'm not sure.
Simon's
That's
Paralympics.
That's Paralympics.
That was Google. Oh, they let me down. Never mind.
But I know
Scratch
he's not the youngest.
No,
I know he's not
okay.
the youngest. Because I believe
Google did me bad there.
you do your Jersday and I'll look it
You
up.
can look that up. All right, so my Jersday comes with a formal apology following some criticism and form and the deservedness of his starting 15 position. Following the performance on Saturday, I'm back on board the Smith train. Aaron Smith, he is my Jersday this week. The pace of delivery, the support lines leading to his try was just a vintage showcase of the Aaron Smith experience. And as a fellow halfback, it was just really clear that he is the front runner. Compared to Christie, like I was talking about earlier, coming off the bench, it was obvious that he is the man we want in these big World Cup games, in the pools, and then also into the final stages. So Aaron Smith, I formally apologize for the criticism earlier in the season. You are clearly the number 1 halfback in New Zealand at the moment, and I will back you to be the number 9 into this World Cup and keep my mouth shut. So
You weren't too critical though. You just said you prefer Christie.
I mean, I was.
I don't know. You're always pretty critical, so maybe you're right.
No, I feel like it was definitely more critical than was necessary and fair.
Okay, well, back to this. Have you guys heard of Boris Becker?
No.
So Boris Becker
Johnson?
is no relation, not first name. Boris Becker is the youngest at 17 years old. He won in 1985, so that's in the open era as well. So 17,
That's crazy.
crazy.
Well, at least I got the age
crazy.
right.
yeah, exactly.
It's crazy that you're hitting it with that much power to compete against like fully grown, mature adults at that high level. Because we're not talking about they've just won a pool game or something like that. He's won.
Yeah,
that's
17 years
crazy.
old is insane. What were you doing? I was a midget at 17. I think I was like 5'4".
I think I've done my first ACL.
Never had a chance.
Playing in second grade, first 15.
Second grade, straight first. Okay, well, that's another one in the books for us. So enjoy all the footy over the weekend, and we'll see you all next week.
Peace.